Well, hello. I'm teaching group lessons and I'm nervous. Help! How can we build confidence in teaching group theory classes? Sound familiar? Just enter the word key, Key, in the chat box, and we'll send you more information on how you can get started today. I'm Gloria St. Germain from Ultimate Music Theory. And in fact, I was answering those questions at a live workshop I was presenting in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville, where I met my very special guest, Ultimate Music Theory, soon to be certified teacher, Karen Hedges. Now, Karen is an accomplished musician, pianist, and teacher of piano, music theory, and a little bit of life on the side, as she calls it. Karen Hedges and her husband own and operate Shiloh Music Center, which just received Shiloh's Lifetime Achievement Award, celebrating 45 years in business. Wow. Congratulations and welcome, Karen. Yay.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here today.
It's exciting. Now, talking about the Nashville scene, Karen, my husband, Ray St. Germain, who is an entertainer, television host, and Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame inductee, and I were visiting in Nashville, visiting our son, Ray St. Germain Jr., who's also a professional singer, songwriter, entertainer, and recording artist. And we met Karen, and we were introduced to all the Shiloh music teachers. And I have a quick question for our viewers today. I want to give a big shout out. We've got some great, I guess I should say hello to our people. Ivy Wong is watching all the way from Hong Kong. And Roman, welcome. We also have Jean Sepner in. So welcome. Thanks for watching. My question for you is, have you ever been to Nashville? Yes, no, love to go. Who's been? So Karen, I love the story of how you married into the family business at Shiloh Music Center. Can you share that with us?
Of course. I met my husband, George, in 1974, and his family had just opened this little bitty store close by my house. And I went in to look for a James Taylor songbook, and they did not have one in, but George said that it was okay. He said, I'll order one for you.
Yes.
And so he wrote my name and phone number down on a little slip of paper.
I'm sure he did.
Mm-hmm. And then he called and asked me for a date. And the rest, they say, is history. We were married about 6 months later.
Wow.
And this October, we celebrate 45 years of marriage.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Well, and you have quite the adventure because you guys have motorcycles, so you actually travel, do a lot of trips. And
right.
Just before we went live, I said to Karen, you have to make a trip from Nashville or Mount Juliet all the way up to Winnipeg for sure, because we'll have a lot of fun talking about our fun things that we have in common. And one of them, of course, is music. And I think it's important to kind of share and sometimes reflect on our own experience. So what was your music lesson learning experience? How was it kind of for you when you started?
Okay, I started piano lessons when I was about 7 or 8 years old. My mom played when she was a child, so we've always had a piano in the house. So it was just kind of expected that I would learn to play. I loved taking lessons. We moved around a little bit because of my dad's job. So we were in several different states and cities. So I had different teachers. I don't remember their names. But I do remember the lessons. Some were really, really good and some not so good. Right. So I think I took away the good things, the good memories of my lessons. And that's what I try to put into my lessons with my students, with my own students.
Well, Karen, you've grown your music store. I mean, you have instruments, you've got rentals, you have professional development, because obviously I presented a workshop there for you. And you've grown from 2 tiny teaching studios to 9 studios, 18 teachers, and you teach nearly 50 students a week yourself. So, oh my gosh, I do want to give a shout out to you because our viewers are popping up here, and I see Patricia says, hi, Karen. So you've got a fan out there. say hello. Um, so what was really your secret? And I do want to just review that if you're interested, if you're watching the replay or you're watching Karen and I live, make sure you enter the word key, Key, and we'll send you more information on how you can teach group classes with confidence. So make sure to enter in the key word. So what is your secret to continuing to grow your business, Karen?
I think probably the biggest thing that we do is with George and I in growing our business for the last 45 years, you don't ever turn off your brain. You know, we're constantly thinking, we're dreaming about, well, what can we do next?
Yes.
What can we do to improve? What can we do to improve the lesson program, our rental program? Whatever we're doing at the store, we just constantly are dreaming. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something you just always have to keep it in the forefront and just keep trying things and never give up. Perseverance is a big one. So.
And sometimes that perseverance is it's a big one in that we just face those challenges and sometimes we don't know where to go. You know, for you have now developed obviously a team of colleagues, and for sometimes for independent business owners, today we're talking about confidence in teaching group lessons. And I remember presenting the workshop at Shiloh Music and really discussing opportunities for, increasing our income and, when we teach group lessons, because you kind of get a little nervous. So, and if you've never taught group lessons before, sometimes we feel like we don't have the confidence to get started.
Right.
And we were talking before, Karen, just about, you have confidence, you're managing a music store, and business owners such as myself, when we're teaching private, sometimes we don't have that resource to go to. So what's your secret for teaching groups with confidence? Because you're running a couple of things, Theory Fun Days and Theory Camp. Can you give us a few tips on what you're doing?
I think starting small and don't be afraid to take the leap. When I did my first piano camp, I had five students in the class, and they loved it. They're still asking me to do it again. Right. The problem that I run into is our county schools are on this modified school year, so they only have 2 months of summer break. Right. And a lot of my families travel a lot in the summer. So I'm not able to just grab a week and say, okay, we're going to do theory camp. Right. So I'm going to start a Theory Fun Day where at least every 6 weeks, my theory students and those who are interested in working on theory, we're going to have a Theory Fun Day where we'll do work on the theory together, go over any problems that the kids are having with their theory. Right. And with just kind of an introductory class for those who want to try it, kind of a primey class.
And I think those are great because so even if you are, and I think there's different options, which is great that we're talking about these today, because you can do, the small group lessons. So personally for myself, I teach Theory Club from September until May. So they have 9 months. They come for 1 hour once a week for Theory Club. And if that's something, and obviously you can really increase your income there because you can go, however many students you want. So I usually have between 4 and 6 in my class. But one of the things, and you mentioned this, start period, number one. You can start with just 2 to 4 students, right? So tip number 1 would be just to start with a small group of 2 to 4 students. And tip number 2, which I love that you said, is that why not do a try it class? Mm-hmm. So that way your students can experience the group dynamics and see how much fun it is. And you shared a great tip with me before we went live. And that was when you have the older student and the younger in the same try it group. Can you talk about that?
Just when I did the theory class before, and when I have done any type of group classes with my students, there's a mix of ages. So I might have a 6-year-old to 13 years old. So I have the older students help the younger ones. Even if we're playing music bingo and the little ones don't know all of the symbols and everything, then I have the older ones help the younger ones. And it makes the older ones feel like, oh, I can do this too. I've got this. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a fun thing to do, and to watch the older ones help the younger ones.
Yes. And I think that you really nailed it, Karen, because when we are teaching, we're really verbalizing and internalizing, what we're saying. And we,
Right.
be really clear with how we explain something. So by helping your students, the older ones, and empower them to help those little ones in your class, first of all, it's fun, because they feel like the big shot, but it really is helping them, even though they might not know it, right? So it's kind of a sneaky way to get in there. So I guess the third thing, and you've got really a lot of organizational skills to do, because you've got 18 teachers working, and I've seen your beautiful facility. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't been there yet, check it out. Shiloh Music in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. It's worth the trip. I know, because I've been there. It's fantastic. So when you are preparing your studio, so maybe we can help the teachers get started. So number one, you want to just start small. So just start with, 2 to 4 kids, like just get started. Mm-hmm. Number two, do a try it class. This way you're not committed, and it's just a one-off, so that they can see the dynamic. But I think the important thing too is tip number 3, which is to prepare your studio and your lesson plans, so that you have these activities, like you said, Karen, to, have a game, the bingo, to share that learning experience, because it really allows us to see, visual, auditory, kinesthetic learners, how can they grow in a learning community? So what interaction have you seen in your teaching studio? And it's not only with your students, but the camaraderie. I mean, you've got 18 teachers there. I'm sure they bump into each other in the hallway, and
literally.
and so how do they share the learning experiences there?
We all network with each other. I'm one of 4 piano teachers, and so we are able to chat with each other about methods, and this is not working with this student, so what can I do with this student? Right. All of our guitar teachers are just good buddies, and some of them even perform together in the Nashville area. So it's a fun thing to watch, that we're a family. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing that I think sets us apart from a lot of places of businesses, that all of our employees and our teachers, we're all a family. And we don't hire anybody that doesn't fit in the family.
Yeah. And I think that's the key, that really sets the tone for not only your business, but your mindset. Mm-hmm. When you come to work, I feel the same way about the Ultimate Music Theory team. We are passionate about enriching lives through music education. We like our company motto, but we also adore each other as individuals and learn from each other. Mm-hmm. And I think, as long as you're open to learning, being coachable, which is what I often say, you have just, the world is your oyster. Like, just keep on learning. And speaking of learning, if you're interested in learning more about how you can increase your income and not your teaching time, which I don't know how Karen does it with 50 students, and you want to learn how to teach with confidence, make sure to check out the Ultimate Music Theory certification course. I'll walk you through the step-by-step plan. Go ahead and just put KEY, K-E-Y, in the chat box, and we're happy to send you that information. So now Karen is currently working through the Ultimate Music Theory certification course. I want to say congratulations to Karen. First of all, because not only is she continuing with professional development, but she's running a business. She's teaching, she's a mom, she's got a wonderful husband, and she's got family and friends, and still has time to ride around on her Harley. Is it a Harley? I think it is, yes. Right? Still has time to go riding around. So that just goes to show you that when you say, well, I don't have time, actually you do have time, and it might be, the most important step that you take, so you can save time, because in the Ultimate Music Theory certification course, we give you all those teaching tools and shortcuts and lesson plans in order to get started, so you can live that life of adventure that Karen does. So I wanted to ask you, Karen, what were some of your biggest takeaways as you're working through the certification course?
Well, so much of it was a reminder of what I had done in college, mm-hmm. and just a refresher course.
Yes.
And I love the way I'm all the way through the yellow book, and I'm working my way through the blue one. That's yes. The next one. almost finished with it and about ready to take the big test. But one of the things that I've taken away from it, and I'm even using it in teaching, which is just a great thing. I'm not doing it just for myself. I'm doing it for my students as well. I love the way you have everything so organized in the teaching. From the instructions where the students have to copy triads or copy the scale just as it's written in the book,
right,
to the point that they then do it on their own, and they have to think about it really well. And I love that. And the other thing is just the stepwise instructions that you give. The first thing, write the scale and use the key signature or use accidentals. Use whole notes. Sometimes they'll come back with the test and they did it with quarter notes, and she said use whole notes. Well, so learning to follow the directions, and that's one of the big takeaways with the kids is they have to read those instructions and follow them and do it correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things too in mapping out the certification course was really enabling teachers to build confidence in teaching their students and really finding ways to implement that, which is exactly what you said. Take that step-by-step system. When we sort of began our journey as educators way back when, too many years to mention, I didn't have any resources to learn how to teach theory. And for me, I didn't have any confidence. And I know it's hard to believe because now I'm an author and we've written over 50 books. But back then, it was really nowhere to go. And as I went out and started doing workshops for various stores such as yours, I realized that there was kind of that missing link, which is, well, that's great. You can buy a book, but how do you teach it? And what words do you use to communicate? And so Sheila McKibben-Uren, who is the co-author and editor and the UMT Ultimate Music Theory Certification Course Examiner, we really dug into all the techniques that would help you as an educator grow your teaching business, because I want you to be profitable. And, one of the ways of doing that, of course, is doing the group lessons. And we talked a little bit about confidence today, but what are so now you're almost done the certification course. What are you implementing into your studio now, Karen?
Well, like I said, I have several students that are doing the Ultimate Theory class. And that's the main thing. I'm trying to do more theory. I never had that. I never had any theory growing up with any of my lessons. I don't ever remember doing theory. So this is something I want to give to my students. I want them to know. I've had several students go on to college and study music. They're two of my former students are teaching here with us. Yes. So I want to prepare them for the future. If they want to go to college, I want them to know what to do. I want them to make straight A's in their theory class. Yeah. So I think that's the one way that I can implement the theory. Not all the students want to do it. Yeah. And I let them say, okay, we won't do it now, but you will.
You will. Well, and it's interesting because in fact, no musician or singer for that matter can actually approach the craft without knowing music theory, whether you study using a book or you just, kind of fake it till you make it, so to speak, right? Because it is the language. And really, you are doing an incredible job of, providing your students with that knowledge, because whether you want to play guitar or play the piano or whether you want to sing, you have to know if someone says, what key do you sing in? You can't just say, I don't know, G, right? You have to understand that. So I think you're doing a great service, Karen, by giving your students the tools to say, hey, you're so close to, all these musical instruments. And the cool thing about your store is they can actually go and explore a different instrument every time they come in for music lessons, because they're all available, because you could pick up a guitar, go jam a little on the keyboard. So I think you're doing them a great service by saying you're doing this. It's kind of like telling your kids you need to brush your teeth and there's a reason, you'll thank me later. So I think it's an important aspect of your lessons, right?
Right. It is. And we had a family come in the store the other day. They had about 5 kids, and they came in for a field trip to see the store, and we let them play some instruments and found out that they were all interested in learning to play something. And I don't know, I haven't heard a follow up, but I think they were going to buy a guitar and a keyboard and just start learning to play.
Yeah. And wouldn't that be fun? I mean, that's how family bands come together.
Right.
I was
Your family.
Yeah, I was telling Karen that Ray St. Germain, my husband, and our family, which is like, we're actually 22 people all in total. Oh my goodness, what a big family. But they're actually performing a live show on July the 14th in Winnipeg, Canada at the Club Regent. So it'll be 12 professional entertainers on stage. And my son David said it's like having, 12 head chefs in the kitchen. But it's yeah, I'll be sharing some of it on Facebook as it comes up closer, because it's music, and it's so cool when you get to do that with your family, right? It's really special. One important message I'd love for you to share with us, Karen, and that is your guiding principle, because I really love this when you shared it with me earlier. So, what is your guiding principle?
I want to instill the love of music in my students, so that they're not just taking piano lessons. They come in and, I just want to instill that love of music. I have some students that have taken piano with me for several years, and then they decide they want to take voice lessons or guitar lessons.
Yeah.
Or they'll play in the band at school. But they love music, and that's what I want. That is my dream and my goal for my students, is that they will love music.
Yeah. And it's a great principle to instill the lifelong love of music within each child that comes through the door, regardless as to whether they're they're there for voice, or whether they just want to kind of look through. It might just pique their curiosity, even coming, checking things out, just like you had the group that came through. One of the things, oh, hey, Sarah Campbell is joining us. Yay. One of the questions I have for our listeners, we've talked about confidence, but I'd like you to share with us, what is one of the things that's holding you back from teaching group lessons? Like, what is it that holds you back? Like, why aren't you doing it? I'm curious, whether you're watching the replay or if you're on live with us right now, just go ahead and share in the chat box. What is it that just kind of holds you back? Like, what is that fear factor? Because sometimes, I've heard, just checking out all of our comments here. Sometimes there's, you might say, oh, I lack confidence, or just personally, or what might be holding you back is saying, I don't have enough space. I don't think I could fit a group in here, or I don't have the right materials, or I don't think anybody would register for group lessons. Like, there's always excuses, things. So just go ahead and share with us, what are some of the things that hold you back from doing that? Because as Karen has said, we've given you 3 great tips today on how you can get started with teaching with confidence. Just start with 2 to 4 kids. Just start with small. The second thing we talked about was making sure that you have your lesson plans, so that you've got something together. And the third thing we talked about was just doing a try-it class so you can get started. I think one of the other things is knowledge, which is why we created the Ultimate Music Theory Certification course, because that gives you the tools. As Karen said, there you are, a college grad, and yet no one ever taught you how to teach music theory. I have my ARCT in music, and I was taught how to teach, but not how to teach music theory. It's almost like another language. So Jennifer says, I feel like I need better organization to keep the group in task and still have fun. That's a really good point, Jennifer, because sometimes, it's class management. And that's a whole nother thing. I've got a class of 4, and Karen, I'm sure you can attest to this. What if they're all talking and no one's listening to you? And these are, right? Am I right, Karen?
Right.
How do you rein them in? How do you manage a class? That's a great question, Jennifer, because you do want to have fun. And then if you have too much fun, then they're just all laughing and talking and giggling, and you never get anything done. So can you imagine teaching in school and having a classroom of 26? Oh my goodness. And now you're afraid to teach too? Wait till you get to 4. But I think, it's important to get started, and I think it's important to start the conversation. So thank you for sharing that, Jennifer. So as teachers, what are some of the tips that you can share on how we can move forward with our studio business? Whether we're, independent business owners that just have our own teaching studio, or we plan to grow as you did, because I know you've got a great quote and
Right.
a great tip for us today.
I think the main thing is to always dream. Have that dream. Think about what you want to do. Like when I'm on the back of the motorcycle, I dream. I think about what can I do next. In fact, I was doing that the other day when we were on a ride, thinking about this interview and thinking of things that we would be talking about. But to have a dream, set that dream, and then have a plan. Whatever that dream is, make a plan, and then start small and just go with it. If it's 2 or 4 students in a group class, if you're trying to grow your own studio, your dream is to have 20 students or 50 students or 75 students, private students, whatever that might be. Have that dream, figure out how you're going to do it. And one of the things is, don't be shy about promoting yourself and promoting your business. Don't be shy. I was showing Glory my earrings a while ago. They're little guitar picks that say Shiloh Music on them. And, just like giving out a business card, to tell what you're doing. I had these on the other day at the car dealership getting my car worked on. And the gentleman that was checking me in said, Shiloh Music Center? Do you work there? I said, well, yes, it's a family business. And he said, my grandmother bought my first guitar there. Aww. And that was years ago. So, if you have a plan about promoting yourself, the earrings are just something small, but flyers, anything like that. We have one teacher that started about 5 or 6 years ago. She put, her plan was to put flyers in the coffee shop, the library, anywhere that she could put the flyers. She now has 60 students in 5 to 6 years. Wow. We have another piano teacher who just started, and she's up 15 students in 2 months.
Oh my God.
She's promoting herself as well. Yeah. The promotion of each teacher, they can do that themselves, but they're also coming to our business, which has a reputation of good, solid teachers. So that's a really good thing. And then, start with your plan and just go with it and have fun. There may be setbacks along the way, but that's where the perseverance comes in, where you just keep on going and just, you just have to keep going. If it's what you want to do, then it'll happen.
Yeah. And one of the things, I love what you said about dream and keep going. And I think one of the biggest things is to, in order to accomplish that and set your goals, as you said, is speed of implementation and accountability. And it's really one of the reasons why, your teachers are so blessed, Karen, because they have you as an accountability partner and someone they can go to as a resource. And it's really the reason that if you're not a member of the Ultimate Music Theory Facebook group, please, join us there. It is really a support group for teachers and musicians who just want to share and learn ideas. So the Ultimate Music Theory Facebook group is there for you. We've created that as a resource. And also for those teachers that want an accountability partner and that want the shortcuts to learning, I really encourage you to check out the Ultimate Music Theory certification course. It's for you. And Karen, who is a very successful business owner, has also stepped in and said, hey, I'm open to learning and sharing. And I think your students are benefiting, as are your teachers that are there. And I just want to say thank you so much, Karen, for sharing your dream, your quote with us today. It kind of is. Did you want to share one more thing with us?
Yes, I have that quote that I found. It came across my Facebook page yesterday, and I thought it was so fitting. A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. And a plan backed by action becomes reality. And I don't know who wrote it, but at the bottom it says Journey Strength. So I guess it's just a website, but I just thought that was wonderful. And I will post that on the Ultimate Music Theory page, that
Thank you.
exact quote, because it hit home from what we were discussing today.
Yeah, it really did. Can you read it one more time? I love it so much.
A dream written down with a date becomes a goal broken down into steps becomes a plan, and a plan backed by action becomes reality.
Yeah. And there you have it. We've inspired you. You're no longer afraid to take the step. You can go on and teach group classes with confidence. You can use those 3 action steps that Karen shared with you today, and certainly, regurgitate that wonderful quote that you shared. The only thing is that you mentioned that you thought about this while riding on the back of a Harley. I think I need to talk to my husband about getting going for a little ride here, because that sounds like it was a lot of fun.
It was.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Karen. Congratulations again on your continued success with Shiloh Music. It's an actually beautiful, beautiful studio, not only for teaching, but also for instruments and so on. Again, if you want to learn more, just enter the word KEY, K-E-Y, and we'll be sure to send you some information and get you started teaching with confidence. Thank you so much, Karen. I'm really thrilled that you were here with me today. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Thanks, Karen. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.